In this clip, we're going to learn how to create an animator controller. So whenever you begin the process of adding your animations to your characters, you're going to be using an animator controller. And an animator controller is going to allow you to create transitions and blends, and it ultimately allows you to control all of the different animations of a particular character or object. So to get started with this, let's go ahead and right click, and I want to create a new animator controller. Let's give this animator controller a name, and typically what we'll do is we'll call this something similar to the character or object that this is going to be going on to. So in this case we have our dwarf hero controller. Now I'm going to select the dwarf that is in our scene, and we're going to add a component to this, and we're going to be adding an animator component. Now the component animator can't be added because Dwarf Hero already contains the same component. So we need to figure out exactly where that is applied. And you'll see that it's right up here at the top. I just completely missed it. So with that automatically applied, all we have to do at this point is associate the controller that we've created with the component itself. So to do this, let's left click and drag the Dwarf Hero component or controller to the animator component. So now that that is set, we also have our avatar. Remember that the avatar is the avatar that was created whenever we brought in the rig from Maya. Now if you need a little bit of a refresh on how we did that, take a look at the first module. We're going to leave apply root motion unchecked because we're going to allow the nav mesh to derive the speed of our character, and then we're just going to match that speed with the animation. So everything else is fine. Now we need to double click on the animator controller for our dwarf, and you'll see that it creates the window in the scene view area. Let's go ahead and close this animation window because we don't need it any longer. So here we have the animator, and in the animator you can hold down the middle mouse button and pan around to see the different nodes that are automatically created in the animator. By default you'll see any state, entry, and exit. What this means is how we can control switching from one animation to another. And this allows us to build logic for our animations. So for example, whenever the game starts, we're going to have a transition that comes from entry that goes into our default animation. At any point, the player could press a specific button, and maybe we want to interrupt our run, and we want to perhaps come from any state and have it attack. And then we could also say what happens at exit, or it needs to exit the animation. Now to get started, let's add in an animation clip. For our player character, it would make sense for us to set the idle animation as the default animation. So to begin adding animations to the base layer of your animator, you'll simply left click and drag the object that has your animation clip in it. So in this case, we have our Dwarf Hero idle. Simply left click and drag this into the animator window. Automatically you'll notice that it attaches to the entry node, and we have this line that connects the two nodes. And in this case, this is called a transition. And so whenever the game starts, it will transition into the dwarf idle. Now you can have multiple animation clips in the animator all at the same time. So in our case, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the walk animation. And right now, there is nothing telling Unity to switch to the walk animation. And that's where transitions are going to come in. Now you'll notice that there's a color difference between these two clips. The orange clip denotes that it is the default clip. So when the game plays and starts, this clip will play. Any other clip must meet the conditions and parameters that you've set on the transitions to switch to that clip. We'll talk about how to do that in just a little bit. So now that we have this set, what we should have whenever we play our game is our player character idling. So let's go ahead and hit play. And there you'll see that the dwarf is in fact idling. So let's go to our scene view. I want to see this up close. So here we can see our dwarf character, and he is in fact idling. So now let's take a look at how we can start to work with other animation clips and start creating transitions to switch from one animation to another.